There was once a young man named Ravi who lived in a small town surrounded by hills and quiet rivers. Ravi was bright, ambitious, and always curious. From morning till night, he filled his mind with books, lessons, and thoughts about success. He wanted to be the best worker, the best friend, the best version of himself. But the more he tried to learn and do, the heavier his mind became. Thoughts never stopped spinning inside him. Even when he sat quietly, his mind spoke louder than silence. He couldn't rest. He couldn't breathe without planning the next step. One evening, Ravi sat near a river and watched the water flow. He whispered to himself, "I'm doing everything I can, but why do I still feel empty?" An old monk who often walked by the river heard his voice and said gently, "When the river carries too many leaves, it loses its reflection. Your mind is the same." Ravi looked at the monk, surprised. The monk smiled kindly and said, "Come to my temple tomorrow morning. Bring nothing with you." The next day, Ravi climbed the hill where the monk lived. The temple was small, surrounded by trees that moved softly with the wind. The monk greeted him with a bow and asked him to sit. Without saying a word, the monk brought a pot of tea and 2 cups. He began to pour tea into Ravi's cup. He poured and poured until the tea spilled over and ran onto the table. Ravi jumped up. "Stop! The cup is full! It can't hold any more tea!" he said. The monk calmly put the pot down and looked at him. "You are like this cup," he said. "You come here asking me to teach you peace, but your mind is already full of thoughts, worries, and answers you think you already know. How can I teach you anything when there's no space left inside you?" Ravi lowered his head. He finally understood. The monk continued, "If you want peace, you must first empty your mind." That day was the beginning of Ravi's real journey. The monk asked him to visit every morning for 7 days. "Each day," the monk said, "you must bring less of yourself." On the first day, Ravi sat quietly, but his thoughts were loud. He thought about work, goals, money, and what others thought of him. His mind ran faster than time. On the second day, he tried again. The monk asked him to focus on his breath. Ravi noticed how quickly his thoughts appeared, and slowly he began to let them pass like clouds. On the third day, something changed. The forest sounds became clear, birds singing, leaves moving, the wind whispering. His mind still spoke, but now he didn't answer it. On the fourth day, he felt lighter. He realized that he didn't have to control every thought. Silence started to feel comfortable. On the fifth day, Ravi smiled for no reason. His chest didn't feel heavy anymore. The monk watched him and nodded, but said nothing. On the sixth day, Ravi noticed beauty in small things. The way sunlight touched the temple floor, the way the air smelled after rain. His heart was calm. On the seventh day, the monk sat beside him. They didn't speak. Minutes passed, maybe an hour. When the monk finally spoke, he said, "Now your mind is like still water. Do you see how clear everything becomes when it is calm?" Ravi nodded. "I feel peaceful," he said softly. The monk smiled. Peace was always there. It was hidden beneath the noise. When you empty your mind, peace finds its way back. Ravi asked, "How do I keep my mind empty when life is so full?" The monk said, "Do not try to keep it empty. Just notice when it begins to overflow. Sit quietly, breathe, let go. That is all." Ravi thanked the monk and walked back home slowly. For the first time, he noticed the sound of his own footsteps. The world around him seemed alive, not because it had changed, but because his mind had. Days turned into weeks. Ravi still worked, studied, and talked to people, but something inside him was different. He didn't rush anymore. He didn't chase every idea or argue with every worry. When he faced problems, he paused. He took a breath. He listened. His calmness surprised everyone. One of his friends asked, "Ravi, you used to be so stressed. What happened?" He smiled and said, I emptied my mind. His friend laughed. What does that mean? Ravi looked at the sky and said, It means I stopped filling my mind with what doesn't matter. His friend frowned. But how do you know what matters? Ravi replied, When your mind is quiet, your heart tells you. As time passed, Ravi became known not for his knowledge, but for his peace. People came to him for advice, and he would tell them what the monk once told him. When your mind is full, wisdom cannot enter. Empty it, and you will see everything clearly. And whenever he felt lost again, Ravi would sit by the river, the same place where he once whispered his confusion, and listen to the water flow. The sound reminded him that peace is always beneath the noise, waiting to be heard. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to breathe. And remember, peace is already inside you. You just have to let go of the noise. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Stories by Heart, where every story helps you learn English, grow wiser, and live with a calm mind. Thank you for listening, and until next time, be well.